Have you ever been ignored by her and felt like your world was crumbling? It's one of the most painful experiences a man can face. But here's the shocking truth. Making the wrong moves in these moments can destroy everything you've worked for. Most men will make desperate attempts to chase, to beg, to apologize, but this is the exact opposite of what you should do. In fact, reacting in these ways will only push her further away and diminish your value in her eyes. The hidden truth? The more you chase her, the more you lose control of the situation and of yourself. Stoicism teaches us that true power comes from mastering our emotions, not from letting them control us. The mistake most men make is believing that emotional turmoil is a sign of weakness in her, when in reality, it's an opportunity to unlock your inner strength. What if I told you that ignoring her is the one mistake you should never make? Stay with me, and I'll reveal the 7 critical mistakes that will change your approach to relationships forever. You won't believe how powerful you can become when you let go. Point 1. The emotional trap. Why chasing her destroys your power. The moment you chase, you lose. Let that sink in. Because what feels like love, like care, like fighting for someone you value, can quickly become the very thing that erodes your power, your dignity, and your sense of self. When she ignores you, the natural reaction is panic. You feel a surge of anxiety, the need to fix it, to reach out, to prove your worth. But this impulse isn't strength. It's fear in disguise. And fear is the root of all weakness. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." Chasing her, texting, calling, begging for clarity, is not calm. It's chaos. It's you stepping outside of yourself, handing over your emotional control to someone who may not even be thinking about you. Here's the paradox. The more emotionally invested you appear, the less value you project. Not because caring is weak, but because unchecked emotional expression without self-command tells the world that you are not enough on your own. Think of it this way. A king does not chase a disloyal subject. He holds court. He stays centered. The moment he leaves his throne to beg, he ceases to be king. When you chase, you're broadcasting that your self-worth hinges on someone else's validation, that your inner peace depends on whether she replies or not. This is the emotional trap, and most men fall into it blindly. It's not about playing games, it's about mastering yourself. Stoicism teaches us that external events are not under our control, but our reactions always are. She ignores you? That's external. But the fire that rises in your chest, the urge to act from panic, that's yours to own, tame, and transform. Let's break this down psychologically. The more you pursue someone who is withdrawing, the more unattractive you become. It signals scarcity. It tells her that you have no abundance, no purpose greater than her attention. And whether she realizes it consciously or not, this flips the dynamic completely. Now you're not the calm, centered man with direction. You're the lost boy looking for rescue. Here's what true strength looks like. You feel the sting of rejection, but you don't react to it. You observe the emotion, you sit with it, and you let it pass. That's stoicism in practice. That's power. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." When you stop chasing, you reclaim your freedom, emotional freedom, mental freedom. You prove to yourself and to her that your life does not orbit her silence. And that shift, that quiet confidence, it changes everything. Because in the end, the man who walks away without chasing commands more respect than the one who grovels to stay. So the next time she pulls away, don't fall into the trap. Stand still, stay composed, hold your position, because sometimes your silence says everything her ego needs to hear. Up next, master the art of silence. Her mind fills the gaps. But first ask yourself, what kind of man are you becoming when you no longer chase? Point 2. Master the art of silence. Her mind fills the gaps. Silence isn't empty, it's a weapon. When she ignores you, your instinct is to fill the void, to explain yourself, to demand clarity, to make noise. But in doing so, you kill the very thing that could have worked in your favor. Mystery. You see, most men fear silence because it forces them to sit with uncertainty. And uncertainty feels like weakness. But to the Stoic, silence is power manifest. It's restraint. It's control. It's what separates the emotionally reactive from the mentally unshakable. Epictetus taught, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." In relationships, this wisdom is gold. When she pulls away and you respond with silence, not rage, not pleading, you send a message far louder than words ever could. Why is silence so powerful? Because the human mind hates blanks, it needs to fill them. When you go quiet, her mind fills in the gaps. Is he moving on? Did he stop caring? Why isn't he reacting like every other guy? Your absence becomes louder than presence. Your silence becomes a mirror, forcing her to confront her own feelings, her own actions, her own insecurity. But here's the paradox most men never realize. When you rush to speak, to explain, to fix, you relieve her of that discomfort. You give her control. You destroy the tension, the very tension that could have made her think about you. In silence, you hold the frame. You're not ignoring her out of pettiness. You're choosing not to engage in emotional chaos. You're choosing presence over panic, stillness over noise. And in that stillness, you become unforgettable. Let's be clear. This isn't about manipulation. It's about self-mastery. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to chase, doesn't need to perform, doesn't need to beg for attention. Because his presence already speaks volumes, even in absence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." So when she distances herself, don't retaliate, don't react, just become silent, gracefully, calmly, unshaken. This isn't easy. Silence can feel like weakness at first, but if you practice it, you'll notice something strange. The more silent you become, the more people begin to lean in, to listen, to wonder. Women are drawn to strength, not noise, and silence is the ultimate test of inner strength. So the next time she ignores your message or pulls back emotionally, don't flood her inbox. Don't write essays. Say nothing. Do nothing. Be still. Because in that stillness, her mind begins to race. And that is where your power lives, not in words, but in the space you create without them. Coming next, never apologize from fear. It kills respect. But before we move on, ask yourself this. Are you strong enough to let your silence do the talking? Point 3. Never apologize from fear. It kills respect. An apology made from fear is not humility, it's surrender. There's a dangerous lie that's been fed to men, that the fastest way to restore peace is to apologize. But not all apologies are equal. Some are noble. Others are pathetic. And the difference lies in why you say it. If you're apologizing to restore connection, to clear a genuine wrong, or to grow, good. That's a man owning his part. But if you're apologizing because you're afraid to lose her, because her silence is too heavy and your self-worth is crumbling under the weight of it, then what you're offering isn't an apology. It's a surrender of dignity. Seneca once wrote, "A wise man is content with himself." That contentment means he doesn't beg for peace through empty words. He doesn't sacrifice his self-respect for the illusion of closeness. He knows the truth. Respect must never be traded for affection. Here's what most men miss. When you apologize out of fear, she feels it. It's in your tone, your timing, your desperation. And rather than bringing her closer, it confirms what she subconsciously suspected, that you're not grounded, that you'll fold under pressure, that you're more afraid of being alone than of being disrespected. And the moment she sees that, her respect for you vanishes. Let me give you a real-world scenario. A man sends 3 texts. She doesn't respond, so he sends a 4th. "Hey, sorry if I did something wrong." He's trying to be kind, open, but what she hears is, "I'm insecure. I'll do anything to win you back, even if I don't know what I did wrong." It's weakness disguised as kindness. A Stoic man handles it differently. He pauses. He reflects. If he truly did something worth apologizing for, he does it once, clearly, calmly, without groveling, and then he steps back. If she responds, good. If she doesn't, his peace remains intact. That's the difference between reactive emotion and rational strength. Psychologically, people respond to boundaries more than begging. An apology that comes from fear is boundaryless. It places the other person on a pedestal and puts your worth in their hands. That's emotional suicide. But when you operate from principle, not panic, you become unshakable. And paradoxically, that makes people, especially women, respect you more. Because respect grows where strength is visible. So here's the lesson. Don't apologize for being misunderstood. Don't apologize because she pulled away. Don't apologize just to break the silence. Apologize when truth demands it, not when fear does. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And a man mastered by fear is never free. He's a puppet pulled by the strings of insecurity. Next, the power of absence, how distance builds desire. But before we move on, ask yourself, are your apologies building respect or quietly destroying it? Point 4. The power of absence, how distance builds desire. What's always available is rarely valued. This is one of the hardest truths to accept, but one of the most liberating once you embrace it. In relationships, especially when you're being ignored, your instinct is to move closer, to make your presence felt. But here's the paradox. The more accessible you are, the more invisible you become. Absence isn't passive, it's strategic. It creates space, and space creates longing. Think about it. When have you ever missed something that never left? When have you ever desired someone who was constantly in your face, begging for attention? Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Her distance, that's not a problem, it's an opportunity for you to pull back, to step into your higher self, and to become a man whose value is not diluted by desperation. Psychologically, human beings are wired to crave contrast. The presence of something is only felt fully in its absence. This is why distance, intentional, composed, and purposeful, is powerful. It forces the other person to confront your absence and, by extension, your worth. Let's break it down. When you're always available, always texting, always responding instantly, you kill the mystery. There's no curiosity, no emotional tension, no reason to reflect on what you bring to the table. But when you step back, when you stop trying to force connection, her mind has only one place to go, into the gap you've left behind. Why hasn't he reached out? Did I push him too far? Is he done with me? This is not manipulation. This is emotional gravity. You're not playing games, you're respecting your own value. Absence doesn't mean ghosting. It means choosing silence over begging, purpose over panic, self-respect over people-pleasing. It's staying rooted in your own path, your own mission, rather than orbiting someone who may not even be paying attention. In Stoic terms, you are detaching from the outcome. You're not punishing her with absence, you're reclaiming your space. And here's the kicker. Distance doesn't just build desire in others, it rebuilds clarity in you. You see who's meant to stay. You see how strong you've become. You realize that chasing never made you worthy, your stillness did. Seneca said, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." Likewise, to always be available is to be taken for granted. So pull back, create space, not to get a reaction, but to reinforce your own power. Because when you disappear, not out of bitterness, but out of strength, your absence will speak volumes. It will echo in the silence. And if she truly values you, she'll come looking. Up next, understand her silence. It's a test, not a rejection. But before we go there, ask yourself, is your presence building desire or just feeding her comfort? Point 5. Understand her silence. It's a test, not a rejection. Her silence isn't the end, it's the mirror. Most men misinterpret a woman's silence as outright rejection. They panic. They spiral. They start imagining worst-case scenarios and rush to fix something that may not even be broken. But here's the truth that separates the reactive from the powerful. Her silence is often not rejection, it's a test. A test of your emotional maturity. A test of your composure. A test of whether your sense of worth collapses the moment her validation disappears. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Her pulling away? That's the event. Your reaction? That's the real test. And most fail, not because they're bad men, but because they haven't mastered themselves. You see, silence is a form of communication. Sometimes it's confusion. Sometimes it's emotional overwhelm. Sometimes it's deliberate. A subtle way to see what you'll do when the attention you crave is no longer guaranteed. And here's where the shift happens. You stop chasing and start observing. You ask yourself not why is she doing this, but what is this revealing about me? Do you become desperate? Do you start sending long messages trying to win her back? Or do you stay still, grounded, present with your own inner state? Because a man who cannot hold his frame in her silence is a man ruled by the fear of abandonment. And fear, once visible, erodes respect instantly. Let's take a modern example. A woman suddenly grows cold, stops texting back. You feel the shift. The weak response? Text her 4 times, call twice, and send a just wanted to check in message. The strong response? Breathe, detach. Let the silence reveal the truth. Focus on your purpose, not her patterns. When you interpret her silence through the lens of rejection, you become reactive. But when you see it as a test, you become strategic. Not toward her, but toward your own growth. Silence creates space for truth. Sometimes that truth is that she's drifting away. But sometimes it's that you've been too available, too emotionally entangled, too quick to react. And when you pass the test, when you remain calm, focused, and unmoved, that's when she notices. Because here's the paradox. The less you need her response, the more powerful your presence becomes. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." You cannot control her silence, but you can control your story about it. So the next time she goes quiet, don't react. Reflect. Rise. And realize that the test is not about her, it's about whether you'll betray your own strength to soothe your fear. Next, the Stoic response: stay calm, stay unshakable. But before we go there, ask yourself, am I interpreting her silence or am I being ruled by it? Point 6, the Stoic response: stay calm, stay unshakable. He who angers you controls you. Epictetus. When she ignores you, when emotions rise, when silence cuts deeper than words, it's easy to collapse, easy to react, easy to let the storm pull you under. But this is where the real test begins. Because power isn't proven in comfort, it's revealed in chaos. The Stoic response isn't to pretend you don't care. It's to care correctly, with control, not compulsion, with clarity, not confusion. Modern dating is full of emotional volatility, mind games, ghosting, hot and cold behavior. But the Stoic man? He doesn't flinch. He doesn't chase storms. He becomes the anchor. That's what being unshakable truly means. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, wrote daily reminders to himself. Reminders not to be ruled by pleasure, pain, or the opinions of others. Imagine the most powerful man in the world telling himself to stay calm. And now ask yourself, why do we collapse so easily at a text that never comes? Because our identity is externally attached. We've tied our self-worth to her attention. We let her silence define our value. But the Stoic cuts that cord. He realizes that no one, not even someone he deeply desires, should have the keys to his emotional kingdom. He owns his reactions. He holds his frame. And that's where his power lives. When she pulls away, you don't respond with fear. You don't spiral into overthinking. You return to the center, your center. Because if your peace depends on her presence, then it was never peace at all. It was just borrowed calmness. Here's a truth most men never hear. Women feel safest with the man who feels safest with himself. Not the one who reacts, not the one who begs, but the one who remains solid, still composed and present in his own purpose. In practice, this means you don't retaliate with silence to manipulate. Your silence is discipline, not punishment. You don't chase to soothe insecurity. You pause to reconnect with your own mission. You don't explain yourself to be understood. You live in a way that's already self-evident. The calmest man in the room holds the most influence, not because he controls others, but because he controls himself. Stoicism isn't cold detachment. It's disciplined emotion. It's having the power to respond wisely when everything in you wants to react wildly. Seneca said, if you wish to be loved, love modestly. And that love begins with the love of inner balance, of not being ruled by what lies outside your control. So when she ignores you, breathe, focus, stay still. Let her storm pass while you remain unmoved. Because when the dust settles, she won't remember what you said. She'll remember that you didn't flinch, that while everything wavered, you didn't. Next up, final reflection. From chasing to leading, become the man she can't ignore. But first, ask yourself, am I the calm in the storm or just another wave crashing against it? Point 7. From neediness to power, transform your entire approach. A man who needs nothing commands everything. This is the final transformation. The shift from a man who chases, begs, and pleads, to a man who leads, attracts, and commands. The journey from emotional dependence to inner dominance, from reacting to leading. Because let's face it, most men operate from need. They need her response. They need her attention. They need her affection to validate their worth. But here's the Stoic truth. Neediness repels what you seek most. It signals to the world that you are incomplete without something external. And the moment you believe that, you become powerless. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself." This is the core of Stoic masculinity, self-sufficiency. You stop looking outward to be filled. You begin to build your value from within. And ironically, that's what makes people drawn to you. Not because you're chasing them, but because you've become something rare, a man with gravity. Now let's redefine power. Not as control over others, but control over yourself. Power is choosing silence when you feel like exploding. Power is walking away when your boundaries are crossed. Power is living a life so purpose-driven that anyone's approval becomes secondary. You don't chase women, you chase mastery. And women naturally follow a man who's walking towards something greater than them both. Psychologically, women are wired to admire leadership, not just financial or social leadership, but emotional leadership. They're drawn to the man who stands firm when others collapse. The one who doesn't need her, but chooses her from strength, not scarcity. Let me be clear. This isn't about arrogance. It's not about becoming cold or indifferent or emotionally shut down. It's about emotional discipline. It's about rising above reactive behavior and becoming intentional in how you move, speak, love, and lead. You can still desire her. You can still care, but you no longer need her to complete you because now you've completed yourself. This shift will not only change your relationships, it will change how you move through life. You'll stop being the man who begs for scraps of attention and become the man who lives in abundance of purpose, of peace, of self-worth. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Neediness binds you to what you can't control. Power frees you to walk away and to walk toward what truly builds you. So here's the question to end on. Are you still seeking to be chosen? Or are you finally ready to become the man they cannot ignore? Because once you cross this line from neediness to power, you don't chase anymore. You lead. In the end, it's not her silence, distance, or disinterest that defines you. It's how you respond to it. The man who chases loses power. The man who leads commands it. You've now seen the traps, neediness, fear, over-apologizing, and you've been handed the antidote: stoic strength, emotional clarity, and purposeful detachment. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This is that power right now, in this very moment. The truth is, you never needed her to choose you. You needed to choose yourself. Because when you stop reacting and start rising, you don't just change the relationship, you change the man inside the mirror. Now it's your turn to apply this. Starting today, catch yourself in the moments of weakness. Pause, breathe, and choose stillness over struggle. If this spoke to you, subscribe for more unfiltered Stoic wisdom tailored for modern men. Like the video if you're done chasing and ready to lead. And drop a comment below. What's one moment where your calm response changed everything? Let's build a brotherhood of men who don't chase attention, but command respect. Stay calm, stay sharp, stay unshakable. I'll see you there.